there's something that John touched on there I wanted to double down on that's getting super frustrating, especially with people who are supposedly on this side of the defeat Trump bandwagon, right? Which is everyone's kind of looked in as this, okay, we're gonna beat Trump and that's all we're caring about right now. And then all of a sudden they've moved into this area of, oh, well, you can't really criticize specific candidates because that's gonna give us Trump again for 4 years. They've manipulated themselves into this mindset that when Donald Trump came around, they believed that it was because there was this split in the Democratic Party without really taking any sort of ownership over the fact that was caused within the Democratic Party by being far too establishment in so many ways and looking to specifically skew the nomination towards a more central running candidate. And what gets me as well is it's not just the establishment hacks that we've come to know. It's people who have been on the resistance side for the longest time. And now that we're moving towards the campaign, I hate to throw people out there, but someone like Alyssa Milano, right, who I get it, she's been great for this advocate, but then is first to come out and vocalize not her endorsement for Joe Biden, but kind of skew her outlook towards that. And then any sort of vilification of Joe Biden is looked as a way as being divisive. Well, Democrats, are we not supposed to go through and scrutinize candidates in order to figure out who's got the policy proposal that's going to be beneficial to the country and not just run this same game as, well, they're better than Trump? Because look where that got us the last time. I swear to God, I feel like there's two sides of it. It's people that think that people who voted for Bernie or who wanted to vote for Bernie really gave us Donald Trump because they were the third party voters, or there's the people who have some sort of sanity that think, no, we can't just run candidates based on the idea that they're better than someone else. They have to be good candidates who support the policy proposals that the country wants.
The primaries are for.
Yeah, I see that out there. Look, I'm generally a big fan of the activism of Alyssa Milano. I do disagree with her on that. I've spoken with her about that. I do disagree on that particular area.
She's not the only one. There's many
no, totally not. She's very high profile.
Yeah.
Yeah, like there are people saying, don't badmouth the candidates. Okay, be specific about what that means, really. Because there's a variety of different things you can do that could be labeled as badmouthing. Some of it I think it is, some of it isn't. Some people get mad when we talk about particular candidates. Some people get mad when we talk about any of the candidates. They don't want to talking about any of it. Well, look, it's all due respect, it's way too important. We're gonna be covering the primary. If something bad crops up for a candidate and we think it's important, we're going to cover it. We're going to cover things that they've said, things that they voted for. What we don't do is just sit down and say, what would be bad for them? Let's find something bad. We don't do that. We're not trying to vilify anyone. We're not trying to demonize anyone. There are people that do that because there's a lot of money to be made in doing that because there's an audience for that stuff. But we're going to cover the good stuff and the bad stuff. Sometimes stuff that's good and bad. There are shades of gray in this. And I worry about how many people are sort of emotionally prepared to go through this process in a serious way without resorting to the sort of thing that you said, where an assumption that if we talk about a speech or a vote, we're guaranteeing more Trump. Understand, literally no one in the country wants 4 more years of Trump less than me. And I believe we need a good candidate to beat him.
And there's a reason why some of the more marginalized communities in the United States feel like their voice is held for a certain period of time and then ignored. So when it comes to Joe Biden, there's a lot of people that were siding with the Black Lives Matter movement when it came to resisting Donald Trump and supporting people moving forward as we move towards 2020. But then all of a sudden criticizing Biden's policies in the past, which have notoriously hindered many minority communities in this country and have not favored their outlook on them. All of a sudden, we're not supposed to criticize that because we're all on this same movement towards defeating Trump. So then what about their messaging? What about their voices when they're looking at trying to overthrow or completely demolish this justice system and rebuild it when a man here has helped contribute to that? And I'm not saying that people don't make mistakes. They do, but then ask them about it and what do they plan on doing in the future to rectify that? But now, asking that question is alienating that candidate and not allowed. It's almost like you can't win, but you have to do this.
One quick thing, because at least there's the throw the bone to the folks who are worried about when you have a conversation with a crazy group of people. So we'll lump many Trump voters into that crazy group of people who are just going to believe conspiracy theories, believe every lie he tells. And when you're trying to have a rational conversation with people who aren't listening, or at least not having the same conversation, you end up. This is the fear, I think, for people like you said with Alyssa Milano, with supporting Biden, is let's go with the safer candidate. Because if we go so hard one way with so many policy, that's the smart approach and intellectual approach to solving our problems versus people who are like, I can't believe you're trying to kill us. You're like, we're not having the same conversation. So they're worried that the crazed folks who are rabid about voting over someone based off of nothing versus people who are thinking things through, it splits up intellectuals versus mob mentality. So they're worried, let's go somewhere in the middle because we can't let the mob mentality win again. So that's the fear, and I get it. But the one word you have to go through that is focus. If enough Americans focus, you can get through the criticism of Biden and not see it as just picking him apart and see it as us assessing the candidate.
Yeah, and I just want to say finally, while we're just using her as a representative of this, I disagree with her on this particular thing, but I think the reason she's going for that, again, I disagree, is because she cares so much about the issues and she's really worried about the effect that Trump would have.
I was going by
this is gonna have to be the last thought.
I was going by an MSNBC interview that I watched of her when it was more so of the we're looking to beat Trump, and I think that goes along with what Sean King actually tweeted out, which I agree with really quick, is people are in this idea of I'm going to vote based on feeling, rather than taking into account the policy proposals that we need to look at that are going to better the country. They're voting on this gut feeling as I'm so scared of another 4 years of Trump that I'm just looking to play whatever candidate is going to come forward that's going to give us that chance. But in order to do that, you have to try and understand what their proposals are that are going to benefit the country.
I agree.
Thanks for watching this free clip of the Young Turks. Don't forget to become a TYT member today. For more exclusive content, join now at tyt.com/join.